Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Comic Boom Comic Source collaboration. Time for your DC Spotlight for the week of June 17th, 2026. A little bit of a bigger week than we've had in a while. Not the biggest week we've had in a while, but I don't know about you, Rocky. I got so used to those weeks of 10 books, 10 books, 10 books. I feel like that's such a sweet spot.
It
Anyway,
is,
we're
yeah.
not too far over that. Yeah, we got 13 books this week. And I thought, like, I enjoyed every single book. I really did. When it came time to rank, I think I've talked about this before. I start with, what would I like to reread again the least? And there was nothing that I was like, man, I don't want to reread anything. Even the book that's last, I'd be willing to reread it. But I did my last book, and then I did my second to last book, and then after that, I sort of felt like, wow, I don't even know what to put next. So everything after that, so from like 1 through 11, I really, really enjoyed. 12 and 13 were okay. Yeah, I don't know. How'd you feel about the week overall?
I enjoyed the week. Well, it's not surprising because I love the Absolute Universe, and we got the Absolute titles for this week. And when we got no less than 3 Absolute titles, and 2 out of 3 made my top 5, I enjoyed all of them, and then a good handful of the other mainstream titles. So this was a better than the last few weeks for me. So a lot of it's the fluke, it's just the way the comics come out a month. Usually the groupings sometimes matter, which matter a lot to me because of my own preferences.
Yeah, and so some of the absolute titles have been slipping a little bit. There have been times where we've had absolute Batman, absolute Wonder Woman, absolute Superman. I think at least one week we had all 3 come out.
Yeah.
Absolute Superman, unfortunately, is suffering several delays. Next issue's, I think, 3 weeks late. Absolute Batman has slipped a week here or there. I don't think Absolute Wonder Woman has been late at all, but you're right. And kind of reflected in the crowd I see at my comic shop when those Absolute titles. I mean, it is the engine that's driving DC. We say Batman was the engine that's driving DC, and that's still true to some extent. But man, Absolute titles, they're just going crazy right now. And I will say that to say this: how many of the 3 Absolute titles do you think are in my top 5?
Well, I gotta admit, you're a little hit and miss in me. I have a hard time sort of pinning you down on Absolute Batman. You're kind of a little bit, you're sort of an outlier in that you can be harsh on it, and yet every now and then you'll put it in your top 5. So I would say that I'll guess only one out of the 3's in your top 5.
You are correct, sir.
And I'm pretty sure I know which one it is, but I won't say.
yeah. I think everybody probably knows what it is. Everybody knows what it is at this point. But talking about those sales and talking about Absolute, there is one other thing that I want to mention. Notice why I didn't start. I start off talking about a little bit of news here and there in the comic industry. Didn't do that this time because I've got a new show in a new format over on the Comic Source YouTube channel called Comic Source Weekly, where I cover all the news from the previous week. And I'm always going to date it, whatever the Wednesday is, whatever the new comic day is. That's how we identify the week, just like we do here, right? This is the DC Spotlight for the week of June 17th. So the Comic Source Weekly, the one that came out today, is for the week of June 10th. Now, typically it's not going to come out on Mondays. It just took me a lot longer to get all the graphics together for the first time, and hopefully it won't going forward because I have kind of a workflow in place to do things throughout the week as opposed to trying to cram it all in on the weekend, because I want it to come out on Saturday. And the reason for that is, in addition to covering news, I'm also going to cover the final order cutoff, which happens on Monday. So if it comes out Monday morning, you guys have very little time to order. But if it comes on Saturday, maybe you can catch it on Saturday or Sunday, even early Monday, and you can still get your pre-orders in. So going to talk about the comic news of the week and rumors. So that's news that are press releases I get, news that's reported on other sites, things that industry insiders might tell me, creators or editors or publishers. I mean, I know a lot of people.
Yeah,
those will be in the rumor section. If it's something that hasn't been confirmed, I do a little rumor section. And then in the middle between that news and that FOC, I'm going to do the top 10 bestsellers of the previous week. And this is coming from the Prana bestsellers list, which is sourced from Prana Direct Market Solutions, which leverages Comic Shop Assistant and oh my god, I'm forgetting what the other one is.
ICV2. IC. Are you talking about?
No. It doesn't use ICB2. It's Comic Shop Assistant, and I have to look it up because I have to give proper credit. But no, these are POS systems in comic shops. So there's 800 comic shops worldwide that use this system, and that use these various systems. Comic Shop Assistant and Manage Comics. Manage Comics is the other one. So between Prana and these, and Prana also gets information from Comic Hub. That's another comic POS system. So this isn't a situation where these numbers are coming from like Bleeding Cool does, right? Where the comic shops self-report, because not every employee of the comic shop, even the owner, they're not there every hour of the day, right? So, maybe something sells really well during their shift and then other shifts not so much. But no, the data from Prana is coming from the POS systems themselves, right? So when they scan that barcode, this is what's selling. But it does take an extra week because they have to collate the data and everything. So for this particular episode, that's the June 10th episode of the Comic Source Weekly, it's got the best seller list from June 3rd. So I count down the top 10, and then I'll call out a couple other things that stand out to me, right? So like this, yeah. For example, this week, there was an independent title that launched on June 3rd called Only the Savage Are Left, which was all the way up at 19, which I thought was just an incredible debut, being that it's a Dark Horse book from Zach Kaplan. Not a lot of people know the name. It didn't, certainly Dark Horse doesn't spend a lot of money on marketing like no publisher does. Zach was out there hustling, but I up there at 19, and it also was very well received by readers and critics, so I had to shout it out. The other one, just to give you guys kind of an idea, in the future I won't do this, you'll have to go watch it yourself, but the other one was Ben 10, number 1, Blind Bag, which was at number 43, which it came out, almost a month, 3 weeks after the regular number 1 came out, and it still sold like crazy. And also it was $10.99, and it still was at number 43. I thought that was really surprising as well. So anyway, that's the kind of information that you're going to get over on the Comic Source Weekly. Really appreciate it. If you guys go over there, watch it. And if you do, please leave comments down below. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. It's meant to be an evolving thing. I've had this in my mind to do for years because I get so much news and I don't have time to do written articles about it.
Yeah, and I'm going to interrupt you because I have to sing. I just want to sing your praises because and for those listening, my buddy and I, Steve, we benefit from Jace because we're always in text communication, and Jace is a bundle of information. He gives us an inside track all the time. So this is a long time coming, Jace, and it's nice to know that more people other than just Jace or other than Steve and I will benefit from it because a lot of my comic book news and everything I hear from you. Like, you tell me things on the side or text things, and honestly, because I just don't. You're a diehard. You're passionate. You follow the news. It's a lot of hard work. Kudos to you for doing it. I don't think enough people on YouTube do it even in the comic book YouTube community, and so I would encourage people to definitely check it out because I'm certainly going to. I mean, because I know because I just plain don't have the time to review all the comic book. There's so much every week. And you got the inside track with the you often talk to creators and a lot. I mean, you don't want to brag about it, but I mean, I'll brag for you. But I mean, you often get the inside track, and you are allowed to say some things, but you don't say some things, and because you don't always have the the time or the venue or necessarily. But so it's nice to hear that you're doing this because it's something that I would encourage people to definitely check out.
Yeah, I actually went and looked on YouTube. I was like, man, is it finally time to do this? I went and looked, like, is anybody doing weekly news, like a weekly news wrap up, all in one place? Because that's the thing. Right. Like, you get a little bit of news here and there and whatever, even if you're trying to keep track. It's so hard to keep track. Now, the show did run a little bit longer than an hour. I am going to try to trim it down to just an hour. But there's going to be, in the description, there's going to be your chapter break. So if you're just curious about, kind of what the headlines are, you can just go and click and just watch the one particular one. I'm not going to go in depth, but whenever I do a news story, I'm going to have the source. So again, be in the description so you can go and read the article that I'm sourcing it from. A lot of times it's press releases. Sometimes there isn't an article because again, it's something somebody told me or it's coming from a creator's newsletter or something like that. But yeah, it's going to be about an hour. You don't have to watch the whole thing. You can click on the stuff that, maybe you just want to watch the top 10, maybe you just want to watch Final Order Cutoff. Again, there'll be those chapter breaks in there. But yeah, you're right, Rocky. There isn't a place. There used to be a lot of great places. You used to be able to go to Newsarama, used to be able to go CBR back in the day. Now those sites have turned into clickbait and listicles, and they mostly talk about the movies and TV shows. So yeah, it's really easy for things to slip between the cracks. I mean, part of the reason this spurred me to finally get off my butt and do this is there was so much fantastic news last week. So that was part of it as well. So anyway, go check it out, everybody. Let me know what you think. And hopefully I'll be able to keep on a relative good schedule of having it drop on Saturdays. So all that being said, let's drop into the books this week because there are 13 of them and there are a heck of a lot of good ones. Kicking it off with Batman number 4, or Batwoman rather, number 4. And I'm really curious to hear what you have to say, Rocky. Written by Greg Rucka, Dani the artist, Matt Hollingsworth handling the colors, and Hassan Otsman Elhel on letters. Now, I've got on record many times as saying I think Dani's art would look fantastic in black and white. And I'm going through and I'm looking at, this is the first issue that's been during the day. And I think it being brightly colored makes it better as well. The art doesn't look as muddy. But there's one page, I think it's like page 3, where none of the people seem to have noses. I just don't understand. Like why don't they have noses? I don't get it. But so anyway, I'm not the biggest fan of the art as usual. That being said, far and away the best issue of the series so far. Far and away, this got me interested. It felt a little more compelling. It's pulled me in. I am interested now because I don't think I'm as big of a Kate Kane Batwoman fan as you are, Rocky, but I do enjoy the character. And of course, you think back to the classic New 52 with J.H. Williams drawing it. This art is so different than that. And I think it's throwing me off a little bit, but I did think the story was starting to come together. So this was ranked a lot higher. I think I've ranked the last 3 issues dead last, but this came in at number 10 for me. So what'd you think?
I'm trying to look. Where did this come in for me? Did I forget this one? Oh, no. Yeah, it came in at number... I actually put this at number 12 for myself, only because, frankly, I just found this to be predictable. And it's unfortunate because I think it's... I think the people... I don't know what the sales are for this, and even though I did look at the Prana top 400, so I'd have to remind myself, but I would think that the damage has been done by the first 3 issues, that it's just, this story did finally find its footing. I would venture a guess that you're not the only one that enjoyed this issue more and for the first time, because finally we have a little bit more clarity. And we didn't need to have the degree of obscurity and lack of clarity, and it didn't feel... It didn't feel like a mystery in the first 3 issues. It felt like I didn't mind it, and the mood and the tone was fine. But, if the whole idea was that she's going to be, her twin sister's back and basically dressed up like Batwoman, and her sister's actually alive and not dead, the setup getting to this 4th issue, which is actually has some clarity, was just not particularly well done. And that's it could have been done so much better. But I'm glad I'm here. I got the first 3 issues, and I think that it's interesting that you mentioned that page. I want to focus on that page where there's no noses. Dani does do that. She doesn't draw noses. But what she does very cleverly is that the way she draws the lips on the character, the lips almost almost like the point of the nose on the angle. I mean, it's so good. I think she does a really good job of giving the illusion of a nose, and still there's a sexiness to the character. So Dani does have a very stylistic way, and it does grow on you. And I do think it's worth a shout out. That I think it's it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but it is. It doesn't detract from my enjoyment of the story, nor do I think it doesn't detract necessarily from yours either. But I enjoyed this. I loved Renee Montoya being here. Finally, we get Renee Montoya, Kate Kane. We get some normality here, because in the previous 3 issues, it felt like different people were talking in riddles, and Kate Kane wasn't herself, and it just felt a little bit off. And as a Batwoman fan, I got more frustrated than I ought to feel for a comic book that's supposed to be pulling people in. But anyways, we're here finally. The Question and Batwoman are, it's their their former lovers, and now they're going to look for Alice, of course, who is or Beth, also known as Alice, who is impersonating Batwoman, and is the real person who ended up killing those people. And we're finally going to get the ball rolling here. I still have a lot of questions about this dark side cult and about this upper elite, this elite strange businesswoman that believes that Batwoman is the second coming of Darkseid or something. I don't know. So that's a little bit odd. But in any event, it's interesting. So finally, 4 issues. We're finally getting a little bit more clarity here. I gotta say, cover A is. I think that's got to be. What a disappointing cover! Just a broken mask for Batwoman. It's really
terrible. You realize the blood forms a bat, like it's her symbol. I didn't notice that at first.
I get it,
but I agree. There are every other cover is a banger, and this one is a little boring.
Yeah, I've gotten every Stefan Sejic cover is what I'm getting. I just because it's just amazing, his covers, and even the cover behind you. I'm not sure who does that,
Betsy Cola, that's the DC Pride variant. David Talaski has one as well, and then there's a Mark Spears variant. Yeah. So every other there's a Gerald Perel cover as well, and every variant is awesome. And it's not that Dani's is bad; it's just kind of boring in comparison to all the others that show Batwoman kind of in action and more of her sexiness. But to your point about we didn't need all the build up, the mystery or whatever. There's a difference between telling a story where it's mysterious and telling a story where your readers are going, "What the hell's going on?" And that's kind of how I felt the first 3 issues. It wasn't that the mystery wasn't well defined in and of itself. So nice to see it starting to come together.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, we have Absolute Flash number 16, Gorilla City Part 1 of 2. Jeff Lemire writing, Hanning doing the art, Adrian Lucas on colors, Tom Napolitano on letters. This was a fine issue. I didn't have anything wrong with it. It came in at number 7 for me. The art's fine. The color work is fine. Maybe the art is even better than fine. I find myself enjoying the Hanning art. And I do like Grodd. I know the little Grodd. I know you're not as much of a fan of the monkey as I am, Rocky.
He's growing on me a little bit. But.
This felt like setup. It's Lemire kind of maneuvering the characters around to get them where they need to be, while he's continuing to, search for his father, try to find Ray Palmer, hopefully get some information about where Eleanor Thrawn might be. But then the second half focuses on Grodd, which is fine. I like the interaction between Wally and the baby Grodd, the Papa Grodd. Wally hasn't met yet, so we'll have to see. And I also did like the organic way that he started to be called The Flash by Linda. That was nice as well. Yeah. The last page with the trickster showing up and saying, there's no other way. We got to kill Grodd. We know that the rogues have been hired to take him out. That's just such a great page. Such a great page from Hanning. So definitely compelling. Great cliffhanger ending. But based on the strengths of the week, only number 7 for me.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
It came in at number 6 for me. It just missed my top 5. So close to having all three absolute titles in my top 5. But I like this. I continue to like the story, and because it's. And especially I like the interaction between Linda and Wally, which I thought was just superb. And I like sort of like her attitude, and she's a little bit resentful that he sort of shunned her last issue, and when he went and investigated the lab and finding out about Ray Palmer and finding Ray Palmer's journal and finding out more information. And even Grodd, I'm not a big fan of that little monkey, but on the other hand, he's sort of grown on me a bit, only because of the strength of the character moments basically around it. And he's actually surprising me, because I was very cynical toward Gorilla Grodd, that little gorilla character, but he's starting to feel more additive to the storyline, because at first I thought he was a distraction that I didn't like, but he's sort of growing on me. So I like it. It's funny. It's not like this is... In an odd way, Jeff Lemire's managed to pull off this feels the most kind of like pre-teenish almost like this feels like a Justice League animated story in the Absolute Universe, but somehow it works because it deals with serious issues, but somehow he keeps the lightheartedness and the teenage spirit of Wally with Linda, and it really does seem to work, and it's grown on me. It really does, and so in fact, of all the apps, I know that I believe we're getting an Absolute Batman cartoon that's somewhere down the pike. It's funny that I could actually very much see an Absolute Flash cartoon as well. But in any event, I digress. This was a a great issue. Another, again, it's a great week to read Absolute comics. It just didn't make my top 5 for reasons which we'll get into later.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to start calling him like Papa G and Lil G. To differentiate between the two grounds. We can't say PG and LG because PG's Power Girl. Yeah. But Papa Grodd, because they're both Grodd. It's kind of funny. So, all right, let's move on. Covers behind me was the Torunn Clark cover, which probably is my favorite. None of them really stood out. The Marguerite Sauvage one that's in the middle is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I think I ordered the main, like the cover A, because none of them really stood out for me. So. All right, up next we have Batman Superman World's Finest, number 52. That number is always significant to DC fans. Written by Mark Waid, Adrian Gutierrez on pencils, Adrian Gutierrez and Vicente Cifuentes on inks, Luis Guerrero handling the colors. Again, a really, really great issue of World's Finest. It came into my top 5. It didn't hit your top 5, Rocky, so... give me your thoughts first, and then I'll go a little deeper.
Actually, I did really enjoy this issue, but I have to remind people of my bias here. Ironically, this came in at number 11 for me, but I really did enjoy this. But the reality is that the approach that Mark Waid's taken to DC to writing this series is one that if I had just started collecting comics, 45, 50 years ago, whatever, I would love this. I just feel that these are Silver Age tales and with modern day sensibilities, and they're great. I'm just enjoying. I'm enjoying the modern day take at the moment, and in my view, I'm so hyped about the current DC universe. Some of these old past stories, they're just not. I don't look forward to them or excited about them. Although I will say I did like the section. Anything that reminds me of Warlord, especially Jim Starlin's Jim Starlin's art.
Mike Grell.
Sorry, I apologize. Mike Grell. Some of those classic covers, fantastic. And I really like the sort of, I like the interplay of the characters here, especially Robin, sort of arguably flirting with some of the more sexier, Morgan, flirting with Morgan's wife, and even with the character that turns into a cat. I can't remember their names. But in any event, I thought it worked really well, especially how Batman goes to look for Superman. Superman, of course, has been compromised because of magic, and then it looks like Morgan and the Warlord and all the crew are gonna end up fighting both Batman and Superman, who end up being essentially completely overwhelmed, taken over by is it Demos, the villain here?
Tyrant Rex.
Tyrant Rex, right? So yeah, again, good story, great art. It was too much competition this week.
Yeah, it's funny. So I'll push back a little bit because this is the other thing that I've seen people talk about. One of the news items in the show, there was a Batman, Superman, Weird Al, World's Weirdest coming, a one shot, and. I saw a lot of people's. Yeah, it's a great, kind of team up, and the premise of the story. Again, you can go watch it and hear about what it is. But they're talking about like Silver Age fun or what have you, kind of like Mark Waid's, current run of World's Finest. It's got that Silver Age feel. I sort of don't agree. At times, it's had a Silver Age feel, but I feel like the Silver Age stories are even more fantastical and sort of imaginary. I sort of feel, and part of the reason this makes my top 5 this week is this is how I felt when I read it. It actually kind of reminds me more of the Bronze Age, like late 70s, early 80s books when I was first reading, because you're right.
Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to know anything else. You have to know nothing else, and just to pick this up, pick up last issue, which is the first part of the story, pick this up, and you can just enjoy it, and it's just fun. And no, it's not a story told all in one issue, which tended to happen, more back then. This is going to be at least 3 or 4 issues, probably, this particular story arc, and that's okay because it's actually fewer pages than we had back then as well. But yeah, it has that fun and that feel, and it little, we know nostalgia is a powerful drug, and this one kind of hit me, of thinking back and reading things like Warlord or Legion of Superheroes or whatever, discovering new characters that I hadn't known about before and what have you, seeing the heroes turned into villains and the other heroes having to fight them and everything. It has that, not a Silver Age feel, maybe not even a Bronze Age feel. It has a timeless feel. It can fit anywhere within the DC continuity, and so that's what attracted me to it. Also, at times I'm critical of Adrian Gutierrez's art because he uses a lot of ink splatter, but this is Skottie, where the sun never goes down. We're getting less ink splatter here. It's brightly colored, which I talk about all the time. Bright primary colors when you're telling a traditional superhero story definitely works. And so this just checked a lot of boxes for me. You mentioned the interaction between Robin and the female inhabitants of Skottie, which was great. He kind of gets mad when they just such a teenage boy, right? He gets mad when they sort of question his abilities. He's like, "Oh, I'm formidable," whatever. And Travis Morgan, Warlord's kind of like, "We saw you fight. We know you can handle yourself. Don't worry." But you can just think like Waid is thinking about that stuff rather than, you talk about bringing modern sensibility, and it's little things like that Waid is doing. Back then, he was more of a 2-dimensional character. But if you're a 15, 16-year-old boy, in my mind, Robin here's about 15. And if somebody's questioning you, you have that teenage bravado. The other thing you have is raging hormones for sexy women. So his flirtations and whatever, like, it all just makes sense. It's great character work from Mark Waid. So even though I'm not the hugest Warlord fan, at various times I've thought, I didn't collect it back in the day, even though I love Mike Grell, especially his Legion work. And I did recently, I don't know if I ever said it on the show, but I know I showed you, Rocky, and Steve, I bought the complete run of Mike Grell's John Sable. I'm going to read that at some point. It was just too good of a deal to pass up. But I thought, you can probably put together almost a complete run of Warlord from like dollar bins, because it's not highly sought after. And
you can get them in high grade too. At least I noticed that last year. I picked up about 15 Warlords, back issues of Warlords, and I had the luxury of being able to go through multiple issues of each issue and picking out the highest grade for like $2 each. It was like a hell of a deal. But
so but I didn't collect it back in the day, but this still feels like it's of an age that's familiar to me, so that's why it makes my top 5. All right, let's move on. Up next, Lobo number 4. Oh wait, before we do that, this will be kind of appropriate that we're moving on to Lobo. Got to talk about the covers, specifically that Dan Mora movie variant. There's obviously a lot of Supergirl movie variants this month because the movie's coming up. Rocky has talked about a few of them last week. None of them really this month so far have really stood out to me as being like, oh man, I really want that cover, until this one. This one from Dan Mora is just like, it looks enough like the actress that's playing Supergirl, Millie Alcock, but it looks enough like a comic book cover to me. I just loved it. None of the other covers really.
Yeah, I know it's gorgeous.
Not that they're bad, but that one is fantastic.
Just a shot. Did you skip Deathstroke? Or do you have a different? I did. It's in a different. I don't know if you want to do Lobo first, then go back to Deathstroke. We can. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, only because
a good segue.
We segued into Lobo because Lobo's got Supergirl co-starring in it this week.
Okay.
This month, and you can see it there on the cover. I don't know how I did that, but anyway, at any rate, Lobo number 4. We've got story by Skottie Young. We've got art by Jorge Corona. We've got colors by Jean-Francois Bellou, and then letters by Nate Picos. I don't actually have a whole lot to say about this.
What's there to say?
It didn't make my top 5, but it came close. I did really enjoy it. I was laughing. It came in at number 6 for me, so pretty high for a Lobo, being that I'm not a Lobo fan. basically Lobo's hired to go break into a fortress of solitude, which he affectionately calls a fortress of storitude because it's on another planet. It's not on Earth. So I guess the fortress of solitude was running out of storage. So Clark or Kal-El had one on another planet, and then he trips the alarms, and Supergirl shows up, and they have a fight. But what I love most, and I'm sure, well, most likely probably the same for Rocky as well, was the back and forth, the insults that are trading back and forth between Supergirl and Lobo. This is, I don't want to say blatant, but it definitely feels like placement for the movie. Like, hey, if you like the back and forth between Lobo and Supergirl here, go see the Supergirl movie. Lobo's in it, that kind of thing. As far as advancing anything forward, it doesn't really, but it actually ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger because Lobo and Supergirl get arrested for brawling. And also because their respective canines cause all kinds of problems in the city up above while they're down fighting in front of the Fortress of Storitude.
Well, it's technically the dogs that got him in trouble.
Yeah, yeah. The dogs as well. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the dogs are white. Yeah, they went searching for him. But yeah, like I said, the canine companions. But the other thing is that it's going to continue in the Summer of Supergirl special, so this isn't the complete story. The art's fine. Again, I think Jorge Corona is a good choice for a Lobo story. And yeah, it was just, as this Lobo title has been under the helm of Skottie Young, it's just been a lot of fun, and that continues in this issue. I mean, I didn't think I'd ever have a Lobo title in my top 5. It's only been 1 out of 4, but this one came awfully close. So, what do you think of it, Rocky?
Well, I in any other week maybe, but this came in at number 10 for me.
I loved. There's not a lot to it. It's it's Lobo Supergirl fight.
Oh yeah,
that's it.
But my favorite part was the crypto, and I can't remember Lobo's dog's name, the bulldog there. But I mean, I love how at the beginning of the issue, Lobo is shaving, and he uses a blowtorch to shave himself and to shave his dog. I thought that was hilarious. And then this is probably this is why Jorge Corona, his art is perfect for this. Even though this is undoubtedly the most unattractive way I've ever seen crypto artistically rendered, it's perfect for this issue because it's, I mean, when there's the scene where Supergirl and Crypto appear. The favorite part of it is Supergirl just her arms across saying, "Hey guys, what you up to?" And then just this mean looking, cynical looking Crypto says, "Woof." Just I mean, it's I can't help but to think, that is kind of a little bit out of character for Crypto, and yet, just like in typical fashion, when you come up against Lobo, you got to be your most badass, and so I just like the characterization of Crypto here, and this is exactly. I mean, Skottie Young understands the assignment. I mean, this is a fun comic, and he had a lot of fun with this. I really like the artistic. This Corona's art here just made this a super fun comic for me, because Kara has, and it's funny when Kara swears, she doesn't use like really swear words. Of course, Lobo uses swear words in his own Zarnarian language with in his typical vernacular, but their verbiage back and forth is really hilarious. The way they insult each other, and that really made for a great comic. And you get a sense that they're kind of like they're not really. You can tell they're used to fighting each other, and they're neither one of them sort of hold back, but at the same time they sort of like it's just entertaining. It's just entertaining, and I don't know where this is going, but this is actually a pretty damn good prelude to the Supergirl special, and I kind of want to pick it up just for that reason. It's the one thing I haven't read ahead on it. I'm actually curious to see how this where this is going to go. But in any event, this was good.
Yeah, a lot of fun. His, for the record, his dog's name is Dog, D-A-W-G. As far as variant covers, these are the one. Like normally, I buy any cover that Lee Bermejo does, but I'm not buying his Lobo covers. But he does have a really cool variant. There's also a Mike Del Mundo one where Lobo's doing the splits and being held up by a couple dolphins. Frank Cho's got one. Simon Bisley, maybe the most famous Lobo artist of them all, is doing the movie variant. Mark Spears has one, and then there's one by Dan Mora that has Jason Momoa on it, both Lobo and Jason Momoa. on the same cover, which is kind of cool. So yeah. All right, let's go back to Deathstroke, the one I inadvertently skipped. Apologies for that, everybody. It's Deathstroke the Terminator number 4, Parental Guidance, written by Tony Fleecs, Carmine Di Giadomenico on art, and Yvonne Placencia handling the colors with Wes Abbott on letters. Now, I don't honestly remember where this ranked for me. I'm going to have to take a quick peek. Yeah, this did sneak into my top 5, right at number 5. I enjoyed the Deathstroke's about to get killed. He gets saved by Ravager. It's the double splash page. That's the title page as well. And seeing her simultaneously punching Deathblow and kicking Deadshot is awesome. And then that immediately starts this interaction and this sort of play-by-play between Ravager, Rose Wilson, and Deathstroke, Slade Wilson. That's really frustrating for them, and for me as a reader, sort of tragic to see. Rose so desperately wants her father to love her, and Slade is so clearly incapable of that emotion or any emotion. And I almost get the sense that Tony Fleecs is building toward this subtleness, this kind of this subconscious acknowledgement of saying the process that Slade Wilson underwent that turned him into Deathstroke basically made him incapable of feeling. Even he is frustrated. He wants to be a good father. He wants to love, but he just can't. He just doesn't. He's no longer wired that way. And to see them sit there and have a meal in a diner and talk to each other and try to communicate and just keep missing that connection again, like as the father of a daughter. I mean, she's not killing people. I'm not killing people, but we do have things in common. Rose and Slade have it in common that they kill people, but they can't connect. So I thought it was really, really strong character work from Tony Fleecs. And then when you add in that it's not a lot. There's not a heavy action issue of Deathstroke. I think back to the first issue where Rocky was like, "It's not violent enough." But this issue definitely not violent, because issues 2 and 3 were jam-packed action. So I didn't mind it. The fight scene in the beginning was really great, and there is a little bit of action, after that. But mostly, it's a little bit of setup and character work, and just done brilliantly. I think the art by Carmine Di Giadomenico is pretty strong. He's not the best at sort of talking head moments, as it were. Just his art style. I talk all the time about how kinetic it is. That's why it's so well suited for the Flash. But yeah, go back to that splash page. Maybe the favorite single piece of art I've ever seen him do. It's so good. And his art can be a little chaotic at times. Yeah, it's just so great. But I'm really enjoying him on Deathstroke, and I'm really enjoying this title because although there's been plenty of action, it's sort of a little bit of a deeper look. It's at Deathstroke, and we've had deep looks before, like the what was the series that you and I both the Ed Brisson series, where it kind of went back and retold his origin and got a little more in depth.
Yeah, that was just a 4-issue series, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I think it was like a 4-issue arc in the regular series. If he finished off.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, it was year 1 or origin or something.
Yeah. It was somewhere between 4 and 6 issues, or whatever. But it was really good character work. But the difference between that and this is that in this one, the character work that Tony Fleecs is doing, it's like the one that Ed Brisson did. It was third person. Like we saw what Slade was going through. And we could kind of see the trauma. In this one, Tony Fleecs is giving us a Slade Wilson who's self-aware of the emotion and the trauma, which is something I haven't seen Deathstroke ever acknowledge before. So if you want to keep evolving a character and keep them interesting, you need to do things like that. So just brilliantly done. So like I said, this came in at number 5 for me. So in your top 5 as well, Rocky. So
it is. I echo your sentiments, but with a slightly different perspective in terms of how I read this. And straight up, I could be. I got Jason Aaron Punisher vibes off this. Now, Jason Aaron, for those who don't know, he did what proved to be, I guess, a very controversial Punisher run, where he took Frank Castle and he basically essentially explored the idea, which a lot of people hated. It was a very divisive run, but I thought it was very interesting, where he said, basically, Frank Castle was revealed to be not a very nice person. Even before the trauma, he was always going to be the Punisher. He was always a killer. The death of his wife and his children just sort of gave him the convenient excuse for it. That was just the match that blew up the dynamite of his darkness, so to speak. And the question that I wonder here, what Tony Fleecs is doing, is that I wonder, because there are different, Deathstroke's always been sort of an anti-hero or an outright villain. He has outright killed people. I mean, look at Dark Crisis. I mean, he wanted to kill Nightwing. He's done some horrible things. But yet, when you explore his anti-hero side, and especially when he's around his daughter, it's always the idea that, well, eventually his good side's he's gonna do the right thing. The scene in here where he goes back and kills that guy in the diner just for insulting Rose. That, to me, is what made this issue for me. That was a tipping point for me, because that showed Slade Wilson because here, I'm not quite as forgiving as you are. And what I mean by that is, implicit in your comments is that, well, maybe he's dark because of all the trauma he's gone through. I'm wondering, when you go back to the origin issues in the final issues of his series by Ed Brazon, how much is that? Maybe this is who Slade really is, and the trauma is just the excuse. Maybe he's just a killer too. I don't know. I guess what I'm getting at is, it's an open question to me. I don't know if I know who Slade Wilson is. Because he's been a killer. He's been somebody who's hated and wanted to kill the Titans. We already know how we could really go there, and it's an uncomfortable topic. His relationship back with Tara. He's had a checkered past, to say the least, and how he's treated his kids. Maybe the possibility exists that Slade Wilson is a bad father. He's a killer, and he's a terrible human being. Maybe that's what makes this character interesting. And to be honest with you, that would still make him interesting to me, because I don't want, like I said, I like evil. I don't like, all characters don't need to be perfect for me. If they were all perfect, I wouldn't enjoy them all. So I'm openly wondering where Tony Fleecs is going with this. How much of this is trauma? How much of this is, Slade Wilson coming to terms with who he really is? Because it's quite obvious that Rose has determined that she's almost at the end of this issue, has written off her dad. Oh my God, Dad, you killed a guy who just basically it was just rude to me. Another rude guy in a diner, and you killed him? And that's pretty disturbing to me. And it's funny why it didn't bother me. I thought it was kind of cool. But at the same time, I wonder, boy, that was a little bit over the top, because you expect Slade to kill people, but a guy who's just bad-mouthing your daughter, who's capable of taking care of herself, that to me makes me think that Tony Fleecs is doing something different with Slade, and I'm wondering if this journey takes him down a road to darkness that we've not quite seen before to this extent. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, but you knew as soon as he got up and said he was going to the bathroom when the other guy went to the bathroom. You knew, right? Didn't you know?
Well, no. Well, yeah. I suspected, but but still, killing him. I mean, I thought maybe bust his nose, give him a fracture his arm or something, or shatter his genitalia or something. But kill the guy. Come on, I thought
he was dead.
Well, anyways, I was shocked. That actually managed to shock me, and maybe I'm in the minority on that, but because I'm thinking in terms of anti-hero Deathstroke, right? I'm thinking of a guy who wants to, he doesn't want to, because he never wants to push away. Normally Deathstroke, if the one thing that pulls him back from anything, it's his kids. To do that with Rose in the same building, that to me is I wouldn't have expected him to do that, but
As soon as the guy came over and mouthed off the rose, I knew he was dead, and I was just waiting for how it was going to happen. And then he goes to the bathroom, and then Slade goes to the bathroom. Right, he's dead. And sure enough, and I don't know why Rose was surprised by it, but it is interesting because it is, she's just like, what the F is wrong with you, man? He was just rude. There's rude people all over. You're rude. Should I kill you? It's a great moment. But yeah, I mean, to your point about maybe he's just a bad guy. To me, that's not as interesting as something that happened during the procedure that triggered his psychopathy. I mean, I guess he could have been a psychopath from birth. I mean, there is that. I mean, or a sociopath, because he definitely doesn't seem to do well in social situations. But one of the things, and this is coming, and I don't know if people know this, but my degree is in psychology, but one of the characteristics of both of those, psychopaths and sociopaths, is that they don't feel emotion the way that we do. Right? Some of them don't have any emotions. They learn early on how to mimic emotion and sort of pretend, but they certainly don't have things like guilt or anything like that. So that definitely describes Slade Wilson. So it is an interesting aspect. To me, it's not as interesting if he was always a bad guy, though. Like you mentioned, that Jason Aaron run being so divisive. What's funny is when I did the Punisher panel at the Phoenix Fan Fusion, and Jimmy Palmiotti and Dan Panosian were on the panel, I was kind of going through that era of the Punisher, that specific run by Jason Aaron, because that led into him coming back and being controlled by Kingpin or whatever and having problems with his brain, which sort of was the closest thing we got to the Punisher One Last Kill, with him having problems and hallucinations and all that sort of stuff. And when I was talking about the Jason Aaron and what happened, both Dan and Jimmy just kind of turned and looked at me like, wait, what did they do? They're like, yeah, they were not on board with those ideas that were going on at all. And they even said, they're like, well, sometimes editors, they kind of steer the story, and you got to do what you got to do. I was like, I thought it was interesting, like you did, like the fact that he was always going to be the Punisher. So I kind of liked it from that aspect. But anyway, Deathstroke, some great covers as well. You've got the David Aja one behind. Carmine does the one in the middle there. That's the main cover. There was another one I wanted to shout out. I'm just trying to get it in front of me. There's a Dan Panosian one where Rose and Deathstroke are jumping from one building to the other. But there's a Mark Spears one as well. That's really cool. The one behind Rocky is by Cully Hamner, which is great as well. So yeah, bunch of banger covers. But yeah, I think that the one behind me, the David Aja one, is probably my favorite of the week. So, all right, where are we here? Get caught up. Yep. All right, here we go. So the book after Lobo, to get back on the correct order, is Absolute Green Arrow #2. We're Longbow Killer Chapter 2. Writers Pornsack Picheshote, Rafael Alberquerque on the art, Marcelo Mayalo on colors, Jeff Powell handles the letters, and to absolutely no one's surprise, this is the absolute book that makes my top 5 this week. It makes my top 3 this week.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's in your top 5 as well, Rocky. Perhaps your top 3.
Well, it's in my top 3. This is just exceptional. I absolutely love this. This is only issue 2, but the mystery, who is this absolute Green Arrow that's going around killing all these billionaires in the absolute universe? And of course we got the absolute Dinah Lance, who it ends up being. She's essentially basically is kind of working for the elite, working for the bad guys. Look, she's even paired with the Merlin, the absolute Merlin, and as they're going around and they're investigating, and they're going through the list of prime suspects, and of course one of them is Meyer Dearden, and her absolute version, and Mia is. She's quite a kick-ass character. She's quite into kickboxing and the like, and she's extremely opinionated, and she's got her own theory as to what's going on, and she's kind of evasive, and I love the way Picheshote sort of crafted the sort of, it's sort of like an interview, I guess, an interrogation scene where Dinah Lance and Muir Jordan are basically kicking the crap out of each other as Mia talks about her past relationship with Green Arrow and just how in many ways Green Arrow influenced her growing up too, and just even the angst that Dinah's going through as she's going through the investigating. She hates Hector Hammond, but I mean, she's basically, she knows that Hector Hammond, she remembers that Hector Hammond told her that Hector Hammond was almost killed by the Green Arrow in the first issue, and he let it slip that he knows who killed Oliver Queen. Of course, we all know it's Hawkman, and of course she doesn't know, so she suspects that Hector Hammond knows the truth, while at the same time she also knows this absolute Green Arrow's going around killing billionaires. She doesn't know what the hell's going on, but she does want justice for Oliver Queen. And again, just Picheshote does just such a good job, building the mystery. And I gotta say, man, the biggest misdirection here just threw me for a loop. When, part of her investigation, they end up discovering one of the secrets that Dinah knew was that that Oliver Queen had a son that nobody knew about, Connor Hawke. And Merlin didn't know that. Hector Hammond didn't know that. So they find him and they interview Connor Hawke. And lo and behold, Connor Hawke is, and this is the great thing about the Absolute Universe. Sometimes when you, the great thing about reading any Absolute title is when you hear a name that's familiar to you. Connor Hawke, mainstream. I must be a good fighter, must be this. All these assumptions. Well, that's the problem. You make assumptions, and when you read the Absolute titles here, Picheshote, no, I mean, talk about misdirection. No, Connor Hawke is not long for this world, and he ends up getting taken out by this Green Arrow character, and why? Not really sure. Why was he really that much of a threat? He shot at Absolute Green Arrow. Absolute Green Arrow knows that Dinah's investigating him. He continues to have obviously a kill list, and there's obviously various people on it, but he always seems to be one step ahead. And wow. Just the art is fantastic, the mood, the tone, and what the character, my favorite character is Dinah Lance. If I didn't know better, Jace, you talked about how we're hoping that maybe over in the pages a Firestorm that ends up being Absolute Firestorm by some chance. If tomorrow, if we get to the 6th issue of this series, they change the title to Absolute Black Canary, it wouldn't bother me a bit. She's just such a cool character. I just love her character. And even Riley Rosmo's variant cover, I mean, probably one of my favorite Riley Rosmo covers. It shows a kick-ass Dinah Lance on the cover, ready to go, looking like a hard-ass, bare-knuckled UFC fighter. Fantastic. Anyways, I'm loving this. I'm just straight up loving this. Right up there with, I mean, again, sounding like a broken record. I mean, it's right up here. It's probably, if this would have come out the same time as Absolute Batman, this would probably have been, it's like an assembly line. It's like a rotating. You could shuffle the Absolute card deck and flip one out at random. And yeah, that's my favorite this week. That's my favorite this week. Anyways, I'm enjoying it. Great addition to the Absolute Universe. Second issue, the suspense mystery continues to build, and yeah, it's easily in my top 3. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I got a chance to read the first issue, which I think it was about a month or 3 weeks before, maybe even longer than that. But anyway, I had some people ask me what I thought, and I'm like, well, it's Absolute Black Canary. It's not Absolute Green Arrow. And I said the same thing to people at my comic shop the day that it came out when we were standing outside, and they're like, oh, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, you got to look at it this way. The identity of who this Absolute Green Arrow is that's out there killing billionaires, that's a secret, right? That's the mystery. So how difficult would it be to tell a story from the perspective of Absolute Green Arrow without giving away the identity? It just ends up being, everything's kind of third person, and then it doesn't feel personal. Mm-hmm. This feels like a personal story because we're getting it instead of from the perspective of this who knows who it is. this mystery archer. We're getting it from the perspective of Dinah Lance, who, lives in this world, has trauma similar to what the main universe Dinah Lance has, but kind of dialed up. Her mother dying, her father being ill, her going from UFC fighter to now have to take this job working for people she knows are evil, but she has no choice to help her father. She's having some physical issues herself, some debilitating headaches and what have you, and you wonder if it's her superpowers manifesting eventually. And so from that perspective, it brings us in. It brings us as readers into the story, makes it feel more intimate, makes the stakes feel higher, especially because of the way it's been established that Oliver Queen was dead, and she had the relationship with Oliver Queen, just like the main universe Black Canary and what have you. And despite the things she's discovering, she still has feeling. She still feels the affection she had toward him, and those things are kind of conflicting. So again, it gives us emotional stakes, and it gives us relatability, and it pulls us in, as opposed to, if this was an absolute Green Arrow story told from the perspective of some mystery person, it would be a lot harder for Pornsack to establish that. So I don't begrudge anybody that this is called Absolute Green Arrow, because the fact of the matter is, a title that says Absolute Green Arrow is going to sell better than a title that says Absolute Black Canary.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Although at this point, you almost think DC can throw Absolute on anything. Absolute Ambush Bug, Absolute Newsboy Legion, whatever. Absolute Danger Street. It's all going to sell. It's all going to sell. People at least will show up for the first issue. So as long as you have a quality first issue, maybe first two issues, you'll be okay. But all that being said, it's not a cheat, because Pornsack's giving us plenty of Green Arrow kind of lore. You mentioned Connor Hawke showing up, so there's plenty of kind of familiar characters and familiar things and what have you. She's teamed up with Merlin, one of Green Arrow's arch nemesis. Certainly, if you watch the CW show, that name's going to seem familiar to you. So, from that perspective, it's about as much Green Arrow as it can be without being from the perspective of the Green Arrow character and keeping his identity a mystery. But Connor Hawke, Oliver Queen, Mia Durden, all that. But I was surprised as well, like you, Rocky, that I was like, oh, Connor Hawke. Like, I like Connor Hawke. He's one of my maybe my favorite character other than Ollie Queen in the Green Arrow family. And he doesn't even survive the issue. I was like, it felt a little bit like wasted potential, but again, it's comics. They could bring him back in some way if they wanted to. Although it does feel like death in the Absolute Universe, and I'm purely speculating, might matter more than in the main universe. Might be harder to come back from. Who knows? But I mean, you're right about the art setting the mood. You're right about the pacing. Like, when I was reading this, I got the sense like it was like larger than a regular issue. Like, it felt like that much story happened. And that's a credit to Pornsack and the way he's pacing it out with, giving us Dinah and Merlin working together to try to get some answers, and then Dinah going out on her own, and the action scenes, and like the scene where Green Arrow actually shoots Connor Hawke is awesome. Like, he bounces the arrow, he like ricochets it like 3 times because of where Connor is to kind of get him from behind, and it doesn't even look like a lethal shot. It just gets him in the shoulder. But as we saw last issue, he's got these arrows are poisoned in some way. So a lot going on. The momentum, the stakes keep getting larger. I'm really enjoying this. It's brilliant work. I've been a fan of Pornsack Picheshote for a long time. He's been on the show several times talking about various things. Last time we had him on he was one of our fireside chats for 12 Days of the Comic Source. If you haven't read his other stuff, do yourself a favor and go and check it out. He's a brilliant writer. Things like Infidel, Good Asian. These are really, quality stories. He's working on Exquisite Corpses. He's part of that team as well. And I also encourage everybody, go sign up for his Substack, which is behind the scenes on kind of the creative process. It comes out every other week. So it's going to be 26 installments. And basically, hey, what does it take to stay in the comic industry, not just get there? But the fact that he decided to do this and it's coinciding with Absolute Green Arrow, and Absolute Green Arrow has been this like freight train hit, is really interesting, because he's just not used to this level of attention, right? He's like, in the one that came out last Friday, he's like, I signed 12,000 copies of Absolute Green Arrow #1 over the last couple of weeks. He was at Heroes Con this last week, and he's just talking about how different signings and cons feel or whatever. And Pornsack's always been somebody where if I'm at a con and he's there, I can just walk up to his table, there's no line, and just sit there and chat with him, the whole time. We can have a complete conversation. And I mentioned that to him, and he's like, yeah, at my table is probably not the place I'm going to be able to talk to my friends anymore, which again is a good problem to have. So it must have been at Heroes Con. Every time he was signing, it must have just been line, which again, it's a great problem to have. Cause he deserves all that, and more. So anyway, go check it out. You could just, Google his name and like Substack, Pornsack Picheshote Substack, and you'll find it. Rocky's throwing up a lot of the covers, man, so many banger covers. The Gerald Perel one, which he had up a minute ago, is fantastic. That one there in the middle is from Kari Andrews. You mentioned the Riley Rossmo one, which is behind you. The one behind me is the main cover from Rafael Alberquerque. There's a lot of great covers. And there's several exclusive variants as well, which we don't typically show. But yeah, tons of great covers for Absolute Green Arrow. Continues to sell well. And I'm really intrigued. The way this one ends, we get our first look at Roy Harper, probably the next person that's going to be interrogated to see if they might be Absolute Green Arrow. So looking forward to that. All right, up next we have Catwoman number 88 as we march toward just a year away from issue 100. Written by Torunn Brombek. We've got God, I can't even read that. Sorry, gotta make it bigger. David Jean-Felice on art, Patricio Del Pesce on colors, and then Steve Wands on letters. While I did enjoy this, and I'm enjoying that the sort of Gotham part of Catwoman is being woven in with the longer, more intricate story that Torunn Brombek was telling of Selina as Evie in Europe. She's kind of bringing them together with Black Mask. I think it works, but again, it definitely feels more like long form storytelling. I don't know how well it works in serialized comics. So for that reason, it comes in at number 11 for me, but I did enjoy it, right? Remember I talked about the last two books kind of feeling just average, and then everything above that I really enjoyed. So I did really enjoy this, but as I've said before with this run, it's going to be something to be read in big chunks. It's going to make a lot more sense and have more impact, I think. So
yeah.
What do you think, Rocky?
This was the highest I've rated Catwoman I think since her run began, to be honest. It came in at number 7 for me because finally it's coming together a little bit more. Where Black Mask's plan and the godmother from Brombek's first arc is finally putting her plan in motion. She actually meets with Selina. She reveals herself to Selina, so Selina now knows that she wasn't killed in that fire at the end of Brombek's first run, our first huge story arc. And and Black Mask too is finally, Black Mask is I think she nails the characterization of Black Mask very well. He's very insecure. He's looking to and he's he almost looks to the godmother as a father figure, almost like he wants to please her. And Slam Bradley is involved. Maggie, Selina's sister, Slam manages to save her. Holly manages to escape with Selina's help. Everything's coming to fruition. Black Mask is out to destroy Selina Kyle's life and to basically use a PR campaign to basically kill a bunch of cops, blame it on Selina Kyle, to basically ruin her life, all at the machinations of his godmother. So it's finally starting to come together with a degree of clarity that, frankly, I think has been missing from this arc from the very, very, very beginning. And so, anyways, I'm glad it's happening, and I even think that the art's improved somewhat from previous issues as well. And I'm genuinely, I feel that there's I feel the stakes now, where I never really felt the stakes before. This really ramped up the stakes for all the characters, and I'm actually looking forward to the next issue.
Yeah, it is interesting because one of the things that has not really been resonating with me is the degree to which Black Mask has been able to kind of get one over on Selina. But in this issue, it's explicitly stated, right? It's all Katerina Belova, the godmother. Right. It's all, she's the one calling the shots. She's the one that's put all these plans in motion, and you can completely understand because she's always been that sort of Svengali character, puppet master, pulling the strings. And we all thought she was dead, right? Like Selina left her for dead in that burning house, and so she's completely disfigured and what have you, wearing a mask when she shows up to confront Selina directly, which. Again, a very sort of mafia boss thing to do. You can understand her hatred and her desire to destroy Selina. Like, you took everything from me. You took my family, you took my house, you took my fortune, you took my power. And so, she's come over to the U.S. and she's now manipulating Black Mask and making Black Mask more formidable than ever. So, great job by Torunn Brombek for sure. All right, up next, I don't have a heck of a lot to say about this one. It's New Titans number 36. Home is Where the Heart of Apocalypse Is by writer Tate Brombal. Marcus Toe doing the art in this issue. Adriana Lucas on colors. Tom Napolitano on letters. I think this came in dead last for me. Didn't enjoy it. The only thing that's mildly interesting to me is the fact that Cyborg is working on activating a mother box, like a giant mother box, and he's keeping that from the rest of the Titans. The rest of it feels kind of boring and predictable, and I've sort of seen this thing before from the Titans, so definitely not working for me.
Yeah, it did come in dead last for me too. Although I wish there was more focus on Tara, because I do think that she should be. It should be emphasized that she's a problem. I mean, she's still. I still think Tara is more on the villain side. So I think that her character there should be more emphasis on her character. I'm not. Tate Brombal wants us to get interested in this new character. I just can't really get into her head. She's sort of like a human, but she's Eva, and she's got she appears to be human in every single way except her cells are actually nanites. But you can only tell that if you do a cellular analysis and find out that they're nanites. And Cyborg promises that he'll get to the secret of who she is, whatever. So that seems a little bit. Again, we've sort of seen this story before, and it just feels a little bit redundant. On the other hand, there's a couple things that I think have some interest. Spoiler is like she's been working her ass off. The Titans have a new tower, an old Justice League headquarters. They're calling it Titans Mountain, and then within the Titans training simulator, which they call the coffee shop, Spoiler is really hitting the ground hard. She really seems like she wants to prove something, Spoiler. And so, there seems to be a concerted effort to make her sort of rise to the occasion. Starfire leaves the Titans this issue. Nightwing talks about being stressed, filled with anxiety. One of the reasons Starfire leaves is that it doesn't feel like home to her anymore. And I don't blame her, because this new Titans team does not feel like home to me either. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I expect this to feel different. It's a new team. It's got a different makeup, and that's okay. So I can understand why Starfire's leaving. I just wish there was a little bit more reason for me to sort of want to stay and get to know this team. Now, in fairness, it's only been this is the third or fourth issue. The Titans are moving toward, they're starting to hang out together on this island, and, they're getting to know each other, and we're getting to know the characters too. I guess it's just because there's just so much competition, and I feel like I've read so many Teen Titans issues. This one just feels a little bit like stories I've read before already, and so for that reason, it came in dead last for me. But I gotta say, if you're new to the Teen Titans, there's a lot of there's a lot of good from this. The pacing is decent enough. There's a mystery building with Cyborg and what he's building in this father-mother box or whatever, and the characterization is decent. And this devil that is related to Red Devil that they found on this island, that seems to me the main villain at the end, is potentially interesting. So, so there's something here. If you're not I suppose there's something here for everybody. I just don't know if in this particular marketplace with all the competition, this is going to be getting the attention that DC hopes it does.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. I'd be curious, but we have those sales numbers we can go look at. I didn't think any of the covers really stood out either. You got the main cover there, but yeah, kind of the same thing. I didn't mention Catwoman covers, and none of those really stood out to me either. So
yeah.
Anyway, up next we have Justice League Dream Girls, a Pride event, issue number 3, with writers Jadzine Axelrod and Nicole Maines, art by Brandt and Stein, Jan Basildua, and Rose Crampy. And then we've got Dearla Kelly, Adriana Lucas, Triana Farrell on colors, Frank Sidovic, and Jody Troutman on letters. And the reason the art team's so big, again, it is a weekly series. So one more issue to go after this. This only came in at number 12 for me. This was my least favorite of the 3 issues so far. It didn't make sense to me that the Justice League was having a trial. It just doesn't seem like the kind of thing that they would do. And the issue is heavily focused on Galaxy, and I just don't find Galaxy to be a compelling character compared to Dreamer. So for those reasons, it kind of fell down a little bit this week for me. But I will say it's the most character work that I've seen on Dreamer. I haven't read any of those YA novels. Galaxy's Brightest Star or whatever. I think there's 3 of them now that Jadzine has done. So I will admit to having less knowledge of Galaxy than those that may be big fans of her. So, I did appreciate getting to know more about her, but it just sort of reiterated that she's not really a character that I'm that interested in. So what are your thoughts on it, Rocky?
Well, you made the comment on the second part last week, is that at least for last week you acknowledged that Galaxy, we're starting to get to know Galaxy a little bit more, and we are more interested in her, at least last week. I'm a little bit more invested in Galaxy now too. I'm glad we're getting to know her, so I'm glad we're getting this event. I also got to say that I'm not normally. I actually enjoyed this. I'm enjoying this weekly series as a story, and it doesn't feel that they're just, in my mind, it doesn't feel like they're just throwing these LGBTQ characters in together. Like, this feels like a story that's well-rounded, and I'm invested. I think it's a decent enough story, and we even get another trans lesbian character, a former Doom Patrol member that shows up and ends up talking to Galaxy and giving her advice about how to deal with the Justice League, and I think it's believable. It possesses enough. There's that word again, verisimilitude, that I can understand Galaxy being a little bit self-conscious. And I do want to give a shout out to somebody who commented on last week's video. I don't know I can't remember the person's name, but you can go look at the comments. It was a trans person made a commentary, because I made the comment last week that I'm ignorant when it comes to LGBTQ issues, to be very blunt, and trans topic. I am. And the person who commented says they were a trans character, and they could very much relate to what Dreamer is going through. Because I said that I wasn't sure if that is accurate. Is that what they go through? And the person who commented said yes, very much so. And so, just another example of how comic books can educate. And when it can educate in a story that resonates, it's good, because I look at this. And while I can't relate to the trans characters, I can relate to Dreamer, because she is like in love with Superboy. She dreams. One of the things she dreams about is that, because, I said, I want John Kent to end up with Saturn Girl, but if he ends up with Dream Girl, I wouldn't lose any sleep, right? And so maybe this is further hints at Dream Girl, even though it just took place in the dream, that Dream Girl does, at least in a dream, end up, kissing John Kent. And so there's something there, so maybe that's going to play out at some future date. I would imagine. In any event, I I thought it was pretty decent, and again, just more of a dream sequence because the bad guy is the key here, and Galaxy ends up being pulled back into the dream to try to rescue Dreamer, to pull her out. I want to make a comment. You never made any comment. I want to make a comment about the backup by J. Willow Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
And Maria Lovett, because this is the same team that does the Poison Ivy series. And one of the things that I poke fun at J. Willow Wilson for, she did such a good job getting me to love Janet from HR. I actually want Poison Ivy to end up with Janet from HR. I don't know if J. Willow Wilson wasn't allowed to have Harley Quinn make a lot of appearances in the Poison Ivy comic, but I'm glad she didn't. And I kind of don't want them to get together. But then here we have J. Willow Wilson doing a pretty good love story, sort of like a day in the life of Harley and Poison Ivy, with great art by Maria Lovett, she's just a great artist. And I've got a lot of her comics. I just can't remember the name of them, but she does a lot of like erotic comics. She's pretty good at it, and this is a really sexy story, and reading this, J. Willow Wilson is sort of showing us why Harley and Poison Ivy are meant to be together, and I'm thinking to myself, gee, I've never really felt that way in the pages of Poison Ivy. I always felt that Harley and Poison Ivy were like, again, give me Janet from HR any day of the week. In any event, so J. Willow Wilson, maybe it's because she doesn't get to write Harley as much as she'd like. I thought this was a really great story. It was a sweet story about the strawberry shopping and blah blah blah, wanting to please Harley, and I thought it was really nice. So.
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was kind of forgettable. That's why I didn't even mention it.
Yeah.
It's fine if you really like those two together. I don't really have an opinion on it, them together or not, one way or the other, so it didn't really resonate. I think Crave was the book that you're thinking of, Maria Lovett.
Yeah,
that was the one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, thank you.
When we briefly had time to do our indie reviews, I think you talked about that one a couple times. And I want to shout out Mac10480. That's the one that left a comment, transgender woman, saying that angst dream or something that she herself went through and many other people go through is, to quote them, a big part of gender dysmorphia. So anyway, again, if Galaxy's your jam, definitely pick this up. You won't be disappointed. As far as covers on this one, the Phil Jimenez connecting cover is outstanding. And what I really enjoyed was on the last page of the issue, they actually had the whole thing there kind of laid out. So you could see it all together if you're not buying all four of those issues. So that was great to see.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, we have Nightwing number 139, written by Dan Waters, Dennis Cowan on pencils, Norm Ratman on inks, Francesco Segala handling the colors, and Wes Abbott on letters. Again, one that I enjoyed, didn't make my top 5. Nightwing for me came in at number 9. Again, nothing inherently wrong with it. I really enjoyed it, but just the strength of the week. I really especially liked seeing Dick using his scientific skills to perform autopsies on some bodies that washed ashore. And it's kind of interesting from the law perspective as well. The prosecutor going out there and basically throwing the gauntlet down. Hey, if you're for Law and Order Nightwing, you need to turn yourself in. She seems so terribly misguided to me. Why would Nightwing do all the good he's done in his life for put his life on the line and put himself in danger time and time again? If he was going to do something like, that's just not the kind of person that's going to do something stupid and cause a car accident. So when he tells you there was somebody else in the car that caused the car accident, you believe him. You believe him rather than not believe him. And she's like, until you give me proof, I'm not going to believe you.
Yeah.
And I just think that
But Jace, let me just hold you accountable there. Don't juxtapose what you just said Nightwing's dilemma with the priest at the end. Shouldn't he give the priest the benefit of the doubt, just like the prosecutor should have given Nightwing? No, I know. I'm just saying that's what I liked about the issue is that the way they juxtapose those two dilemmas. Because I agree with you, like give Nightwing the benefit of the doubt. But then I thought, geez, Nightwing was being pretty hard on the priest. So I really liked how that was done. And it's one of the reasons why I like this issue so much.
Yeah, but also the priest said his congregation is like 9 people. Nightwing has saved. I mean, I'm
not sure what that has to do with the dilemma.
You hate to make it a numbers game because you want to, it's the principle of the thing. But yeah, we're talking like 8 billion people versus 9 people, and degrees do matter. You know what I mean? So anyway, where did this rank for you?
Well, this came in at number 8 for me, but I thought it was really good. I'm really starting to love that this Dennis Cowan art is just really growing on me. It's just starting to establish an ambiance and a mood that works so well, and I really love this issue, like for the reasons we just stated about that dilemma, because Nightwing, really chasing a priest, and I just thought, good God, and the priest, even though the priest could reveal, who told him this, but the priest has his own principles and his own sense of he has got his own moral code and his own obligation of confidentiality, obviously being a priest, regarding confessions. I just thought it worked very, very well, and because in many ways, there is this sort of presumptiveness about the metahuman, about the superhero. Oh, somehow, they always get away with it. I mean, Batman how many allies that Batman have killed, and Batman just apparently has given up wanting to bring him to justice, It's okay, Jason Todd, I know you've killed, but you're Jason Todd, so we're not, it's okay if you roam the streets. We can still work together. I mean, obviously it's comic books. We suspend our beliefs, but there is this sort of hypocrisy there. And so I really like what Dan Watters did here. So he humanized this. You couldn't get more human than a priest who, okay, he's keeping the secret, but at the same time, this priest also killed this murderer because he didn't want him to roam free. And so he ends up murdering somebody, which is, of course, terrible. But I can think of more than a few metahumans who did things in far worse circumstances, who seem to be given a free pass. Not that that's an excuse, just because one gets away with it doesn't mean it. But I like that it's sort of the human factor here really brought this home, and that's what I think Dan Watters has done so well, and this is why Dennis Cowan's art is so perfect. The way he rendered the mood and the ambience as Dick Grayson and the priest are talking, especially after Dick Grayson, he's exhausted. He's spent 26, 28 hours, separating bodies with the coroner, and the coroner is Dr. Sakis, or the same doctor who was the coroner in the Batman Dark Patterns series, written by Dan Watters and drawn by Hayden Sherman. So that's a great call. It's great to see that coroner again show up. So yeah, this was a really good issue. Again, it coming in at number 8. In any other week, it's could have made my top 5.
Yeah, I agree 100%. 9 for me, but in a week that wasn't as strong, it could definitely be. And I agree with you on Dennis Cowan art. It's such a different feel. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Bruno Redondo, and he was the perfect choice to team up with Tom Taylor for the vibe that they were going with for Nightwing. And you and I talked about it when Dan Watters got announced, because he was known for doing stuff like this. Dan will say this, stuff that's weird, stuff that's strange, stuff that's dark, like his backup stories in Detective Comics. And so we're like, how's that going to fit? I mean, the era of Tom Taylor and Nightwing, for God's sake, is called leaping into the light. We are done leaping into the light, folks. Yeah. We're in the darkness now. Yeah. And I like it. I like that contrast, because it's challenging Dick Grayson as a character more than I've seen him challenged in a long time. Mm. Now, Tate Brombal's trying to do similar things in Titans, but I don't think it's working as well as what Dan Watters is doing here. And even as Dick is going through all this, and he's like, yeah, normally at this time is when I'd hear in my earpiece, hey, chin up, Dick, that voice of Barbara in my ear, but I don't have that because she's in prison and I can't go get her out. And that sort of, there's a lot that Dick is dealing with right now. So brilliant job by Dan Watters for sure. All right, up next, maybe one of the books, other than the absolute titles, that people are most looking forward to hearing us talk about. Superman Unlimited 14. It's from writer Dan Waters, Lucas Meyer, gorgeous art. I love that Lucas is on this book. David Messina is handling some of the art as well. Then we've got colors by Giuliano Petarelli and letters by Dave Sharp. And I hate to be that guy that said, I told you so, but guys,
You
I
bastard!
told you so. I told you so. I told you it wasn't John Kent. From the first time he showed up, I'm like, don't get your, hopes up. And I mean, people were responding to the videos on YouTube saying, I'm going to boycott DC if it's not the real John Kent. And I want to give a shout out. I looked for it, but I couldn't find the comment because I've done, so many different videos um, about this, about John Kent, about the Superman Unlimited and what Dan Slott's doing, get ready to have the rug pulled out from under you. But somebody called it. Somebody did say, I think this is,
Ultra Boy.
Superboy of Earth 3.
That's right.
Which
Yeah.
in this issue they call him Ultra Boy, which we already have an Ultra Boy. Like I get that, it's Ultraman and so Ultra Boy because it's Superman, Superboy. But I don't like calling him Ultra Boy only because we already have an Ultra Boy in the Legion of Superheroes, and I like that character. Um, but this one, it leaves no doubt, right? As we go through this issue with John Kent, Tomorrow Man, kind of leading who we find out is Ultra Boy throughout the issue. I mean, really, you see it right there on the cover where it says "Reign of the Superboys" and it says "Reign's End," and he's standing there with John Henry Irons' hammer, with Steel's hammer. You're like, oh, stuff's about to go bad. You get very much an Omen vibe, right? I think we've talked about that before, or maybe Brightburn. I think is a movie where um, the parents very similarly as the Kents adopt a young boy that has powers, find out he's an alien, and then late in the movie they find out he's been killing people, whatever. So yeah, very much the bad guy. But as John Kent is leading Superboy around here, and they're going through various battles, there's just all these hints that make it so obvious. It's never. I mean, there was plenty of hints before that I kept pointing to back up my theory that it wasn't John Kent, and I think out of a love of young John Kent and out of a desire to want him to return, people were choosing to not necessarily ignore them, but go, oh, they're trying to, make it mysterious or trying to throw us off, and then it'll turn out to really be him. And I'm like, no, there's just too many clues. And so, yeah, he doesn't know, a very classic Superman villain. Right at the start, we've got Professor Kilgrave, and he doesn't know it. But John Kent's like, when I was his age, even earlier than that, I studied it. So if he's really me, he would have known. And then later, he's not affected by kryptonite. And again, you're just like, dude, this is not Ultra Boy. And it does make sense when you think about it, because one of the biggest clues previous to this was when Beppo, who was irradiated with some El Caldero K kryptonite, remember he bit John, and John just like freaked out and wasn't like hurt or damaged. And now we think, okay, well, Ultraman, he like snorts kryptonite to get more powerful. So when this young John freaked out like that, it's sort of because he got like a power surge. He got like a jolt, almost like a jolt of electricity because he had that kryptonite, assuming that he has that same kind of ability that his father does. But it's so funny when we get the scene where these evil scientists, the clones of Dabney Donovan, are harvesting the heart of Metallo, the kryptonite heart. They're like, oh, we need it. And young John Kent grabs it as it gets knocked out of the hands of one of the scientists. And Tomorrow Man's like yelling at him as John lunges for it. He's like, Superman, no. And then, or Superboy, no. And then he goes, oh yeah, kryptonite bad. And he kind of drops it. It's just like, oh, come on, man. But I also love that Dan Slott acknowledged that Lois kind of knew, right? We talked about that a couple times. And sort of similar, she's almost the stand-in in the story for the fans. She's talking to Ma and Pa Kent, and they're asking her, well, what do you think? And she's like, well, I'm Lois Lane. I'm, my reporter's instincts naturally suspicious. And Ma Kent's like, well, what does the mother in you say? And she's like, well, I want it to be true. Like, okay, you can acknowledge that you want it to be true. Now go do your Lois Lane thing and, find out what's actually true. So I did like that was acknowledged. And then, throughout the story, John has, older John, has kind of had his suspicions, been wary. And again, maybe it's because of exactly what I said in the beginning, that the fact that it was this fifth dimensional demon that supposedly returned John, when really all he did was sort of plant a time bomb in a way. So that's interesting. The other thing, or the last thing that I'll point out, well, a couple things. I always love seeing Lana Lang in her Superwoman persona. How the green kryptonite of El Caldero is affecting her remains to be seen, because she kind of turns green at one point. So that's going to be cool to see. Because I think she's an underused character. But also, I think we're getting the first appearance of the new kryptonite man here. Because we see one of the scientists, as he's from Steel Laboratories, kind of get infected, and the kryptonite starts bursting out of his head and out of his mouth, out of one of his eye sockets or whatever. So that could be a spoiler alert for a new character, or speculator alert, I should say. And then the fact that Damien knew all along was great as well. And I should say, myself and John Kent and older John Kent and Lois, they're like, we have our suspicions. Maybe it's not him. Batman knew from the beginning, which is, very Batman. And Damien would have known as well. And Batman even acknowledges that and said, yeah, you would have known, but you just don't have as much information as I do. And when he shows him the evidence, then yeah, John's like, okay, yeah, this is Ultra Boy, this is Ultraman and Superwoman's daughter. And this information that Batman had was the last time he was on Earth 3, he saw that Superwoman was pregnant. And I think that happened. I think they acknowledged it. Was there an editor's note? Yeah, it was in Batman Superman's World's Finest 48 and 49.
Yeah.
So, and the timing added up in terms of kind of the dates, as it were. So, yeah, it's not John Kent. No young John Kent returning. It's great. It's a great story, and I will reiterate what I think I've said in reviewing every recent issue of Superman Unlimited. DC would be foolish not to return young John Kent in some way, shape, or form after seeing reader reaction to this story, where Dan Slott is once again Dan Slotting Superior Spider-Man, and really aggravating readers, to be honest. So
yeah, what I find particularly interesting is the flashback that, I mean, the misdirection was just kudos to Dan Slott. I did, in the back of my mind, I will say, when we reviewed last issue, that was one of my theories. I thought, well, in the back of my head, I was thinking that I thought of the Ultra Boy possibility, the Ultraman possibility, but I did, for some reason, I didn't think they would go there. But what's interesting here is when they showed it in the middle of this issue, they're attacked by Volcana. Both Superboy and young John Kent and Tomorrow Man are attacked by Volcana, and you're thinking, oh my God, this young John Kent, and it looked like he's having a PTSD episode, and he's even remembering Ultraman torturing him. Only if you're weak, boy, show me you have what it takes to survive, and you're thinking that this is the John Kent, but just think about what's interesting here is now I am actually very, very interested is what's going to happen with this Ultra Boy, this John Kent, because I'm assuming his name is John. What happens to this John Kent from Earth 3? Because clearly this John Kent from Earth 3 was also tortured by his father. Because if this is his flashback, he also has memories of being tortured by Ultraman, his biological father. And that's what's horrible about this. This John Kent from Earth 3, who is not our young John Kent, was also traumatized by Ultraman. And it's almost as if you got to wonder if Ultraman, with memories of how well, because remember our young John Kent that we know and love, seemed to make it through the volcano incident for 7 years, relatively unscathed, relatively untraumatized. But this John Kent from Earth 3 seems to have gotten really a worse version of his, because it's almost like his father torturing him, like because he knew what it was like to have John Kent. Because you gotta, like, here's my question. Why is this John Kent from Earth 3, he's having a flashback. Why does he have an S on his thing? Like, he's got a flashback of his father torturing him. Why would his father put an S on him and not an Ultraman thing? Oh, maybe that's what the imp did, changed his clothing. But anyways, what I'm getting at is, I'm wondering, is this a complete figment of the fifth dimensional imp's imagination? Does this John Kent, is he real? Is this all a figment, a fifth dimensional mirage of some kind? I hope not, because now I'm really looking forward. I want Lois Lane and Ultraman to end up in Superman Unlimited. I think that would be epic. That would be awesome. Have Tomorrow Man and this young John Kent from Earth 3 confront Ultraman and Superwoman from Earth 3. I think that's awesome. So while I'm disappointed, absolutely, I wanted young John Kent to return. I gotta admit, this opens up a whole whack load of possibilities that also puts a smile on my face.
Yeah, I do wonder, like, are those memories, like, I hear what you're saying, and it's entirely possible, knowing the sadistic nature of Ultraman, that he could have tortured his own son. But at the same time, I'm like, to your point about the imp changing the costume, are those implanted memories from the imp?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, you think about what great parents Lois and Clark are, and then just think about what terrible parents their Earth 3 counterparts would be. Like, I'm surprised the baby would even survive. I mean, I guess it's got Ultraman's powers, so it can survive. But I don't feel like they would care for it or feed it or show it any affection. You know what I mean? Like, especially if it was crying. So yeah, really, really interesting. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out, because yeah, there is a lot of possibility here. And yeah, what do you do with this version of Ultra Boy? We'll have to wait and see. But gorgeous art from Lucas Meyer and David Messina, as I said. A few different variant covers. None of them like really stood out to me. Probably if I had to pick one other than the main cover, there is a Juan Ferreira variant that's versus, like a Superman, like a video game with Superboy versus Tomorrow Man. That's pretty cool. And then there is a movie variant. Mitch Gerrits does a movie variant for Supergirl. But yeah, the young John Kent. Hope springs eternal that DC will bring him back. But it's been, it's been 2018. Was it 2000? It's been almost 10 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So yeah, but people still hold out hope. So more power to you, everybody. All right, moving on. We've got another big book. A lot of people anticipating Absolute Batman 21. Scott Snyder, the writer, Nick Dragotta on art, Frank Martin on colors, Tom Napolitano on letters. Entire regular creative team is here. First half, a lot of action. Batman against the Robins. And Batman gets away through a lot of help from Harley and Alfred. And then we get a little bit of a flashback with Bruce thinking back to an encounter with Jim Gordon. And he's doing that in terms of Jim Gordon's funeral, where his daughter Barbara's up there talking. And we get to see the Robins in civilian clothes. And I love that Barbara Gordon kind of calls them out. You guys just blew up a building. You're talking about trying to bring Absolute Batman to task, when you guys seem to be worse. And like, yeah, but we're authorized. Whatever. And then it kind of shifts to the Batman Rogues Gallery, his friends, talking about what's going on with Bruce and should they be helping, and just kind of the state of Gotham. And then it ends with Bruce on a skyscraper out there, kind of lost in his own thoughts, when he is approached by Jack Grimm. And Grimm basically admits right to Bruce's face that he helped create him. Now, I don't think that that's actually true. We've talked about how much Scott Snyder views the Joker as part of Batman and what have you. We've talked about, I've talked about how I don't like that Jack Grimm is so tied into the origin of so many of the villains in the Absolute universe. Because I don't know, I just don't care for the Joker as a character, even this Absolute version. I just don't. But I think it's more mind games that Jack Grimm is playing.
Yeah,
Than
I
anything else.
agree with you. I think it is too.
Yeah. But I could be wrong. But I will say, I love that scene for the tension that it creates. And it definitely shows one of the things that Scott Snyder was touting from the beginning about the Absolute Universe, and that is the fact that the heroes, the fact that the good guys are the underdogs. And they're not just slightly underdogs, right? They're not just slightly out of favor. They are very much out of favor. The deck is very much stacked in the favor of the villains in this universe, and that really comes through with this confrontation. So great art from Nick Dragotta as always. Powerful storytelling from Scott Snyder. But all that being said, again, it's Absolute Batman is just it's not resonating with me enough, especially for like the number of I find it to be ridiculous, the number of variant covers every time, like in the hundreds. It's so ridiculous. And I'm just telling, I've said this before. I'll remind everybody again. I know there's a lot of people that have gotten into collecting comics through Absolute Batman, which I love. I love that Absolute Batman exists if for no other reason than that. But I'm just warning you all, if you're spending a lot of money on these variants and thinking that they're going to be worth a lot of money later on down the line, this is a book that's selling like 300,000 copies like every issue, right? And when it comes to the books that are worth a lot of money, it's like scarcity matters. And part of the reason these numbers are so big is because there's people out there that are buying multiples, 2s and 3s copies, thinking, hey, I'm going to flip this later. It's going to be worth a lot of money. We've seen this before. We saw this in the 90s, especially with Valiant, when Valiant started taking off, and all of a sudden they went from selling in the single-digit thousands to the tens of thousands to, reaching six figures. And those books were worthless. I mean, look at Superman, The Death of Superman, Superman 75. It finally has some value now, but not a tremendous amount. So again, you're not going to get rich by buying multiple copies of Absolute Batman. I hope you're buying it to read it and enjoy it, but if you're buying it to speculate on it, if you're spending a ton of money on variant covers and ratios, thinking they're going to be worth a lot of money later on, some of those ratios, they might hold value just because of the scarcity, but I would be really, really careful. So all that being said, this came in at number 8 for me, well outside my top 5.
Well,
it's in your top 5, Rocky.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is easily in my top 3. I will. I just want to point something out. This is still part of the story arc called the Straw Man. Now, everyone assumes that the Straw Man refers to the Scarecrow because this story arc essentially started. This particular story arc started with the Scarecrow essentially killing Jim Gordon. But I want to point out.
Can I? I'm going to stop you right. That's a great observation. I thought about that as well. Not necessarily who the Straw Man might be, but I thought about that, and I was very critical of when the Scarecrow showed up. Mm-hmm. If it turns out to be misdirection, the fact that he showed up in the part 1 of the Straw Man will make more sense. Yeah, and maybe it was just to throw people off.
Yeah, I would just remind people that the straw man as a concept is used in an argument. When you straw man somebody's argument, if somebody makes an argument, in order to a common tactic used is to tell the other person, reframe the other person's argument for them in a weaker version of it. In other words, basically lie. You misstate the other person's argument in a weaker sense and then destroy that argument. In many ways, I think that's what the Joker is doing here with Bruce Wayne. That the Joker is trying to... I think the Joker did not anticipate Bruce Wayne. I think that Batman is the true wild card in the Joker's life. I don't think Jack Grimm anticipated him, so I agree with you, Jace. I think that in many ways, the Joker is trying to straw man Bruce Wayne by basically trying to tell him that, no, you're weaker than this. I control you. And he's trying to create an argument that I'm so much better than you. I'm in control of everything. I'm letting you live because you're like a toy that I'm playing with. And I think that's what I like about the name. That's sort of how I'm sort of playing with it. And he's trying to straw man the argument against, I'm so much better than you. But the truth is that Bruce Wayne is far stronger than he realizes. And I think he's going to discover that moving forward. I might be wrong. Maybe this really was all part of the Joker's plan. But I think that takes away too much from Batman to actually be the case. And I don't think Snyder would do that. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. But I like that aspect of it. The other aspect I really liked was Barbara Gordon's speech at the funeral. I thought was excellent. I also like the fact that she's got a very functional, loving relationship with her dad, that he was a great father. And that's a little different than mainstream DC. Because I've always got the impression that there was a little bit more dysfunction in the mainstream version relationship between Jim Gordon and Barbara, particularly since we know she had a psychopathic brother, which maybe their one will pop up here in the Absolute Universe. We'll have to wait and see. But I really thought it was great. And even in this one issue, how all of the various characters of all the different Robins comes out. You got Dick Grayson in the middle of the fight as these Robins are fighting the Absolute Batman. Dick Grayson shows his true colors by risking his own life, even though Absolute Batman, for all he thinks Absolute Batman is a killer. So, but he nonetheless still takes off his armor to go to try to rescue people in a building that Batman drops on him. So he's willing to risk his own life for innocence. So we know that Dick Grayson's heart's in the right place. We also know that Jason Todd in the Robin, he's more he's more aggressive. He's, again, there's a lot of parallels to the mainstream characters, but just in that with the little tweaks for this Absolute Universe. And in any event, I thought it was really great. Also, it's clear that Alfred and Slade Wilson, they have a past together. You can tell they probably fought each other in the past. Slade Wilson, as he's basically talking in the ears of the Robins, Alfred is talking in the ear of Batman, and they pick up on each other. And so they have a history together as well. I like that. So we could probably look forward to Alfred v. Slade Wilson sometime in the future. So I really like the way these things are playing out. And of course, that ending, that fantastic ending where the Joker says, boo, to Bruce Wayne, and he almost, and just this terrifying look on his face. I mean, that scared me. And this is a comic, for God's sakes. I thought it was excellent. And again, this series just continues to impress me. So well done. And I love the art. I thought it was particularly shine this issue.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting if I end up eating my words, because Scott Snyder sticks to landing so well on this. Not that they have plans for it to end or he has plans to leave the book or whatever, but it would be really interesting and kind of poetic, because the biggest criticism I've heard of Snyder's work in the past, his superhero work, because I don't think he suffers from this on any of his independent work, but it's the ability to stick the landing. Like, we've been critical of things like Metal and Death Metal, and what have you, him not sticking the landing, as opposed to his other creator-owned work where he's very much told a complete story. And so, it would be the ultimate middle finger from Scott to me if he just sticks the landing and makes everything make sense and kind of reframes a lot of what happened throughout the story. Like, say this goes, like, let's say 100 issues, right? Like 10 years or so. And then, I'm coming back in, started in 2024. I'm coming back in 2034 and being like, I gotta admit, Absolute Batman's kind of the greatest run of Batman ever because of XYZ. I would be all for it. I would be all for it. If anybody that's listened to this podcast for a long time knows, I'm the first one to admit when I'm wrong. So, all right. Last book we're going to talk about in detail, End of Life, number 5, from writer Kyle Starks. Steve Pugh on art, Chris O'Halloran on colors, Becca Carey on letters. This is in my top 5. This, along with Bleeding Hearts, are the two Vertigo titles I feel like that are doing really, really well. And they're the two titles that I most recommended to people at my comic shop. Like, when the first issue came out, I was like, hey, you guys need to be reading this. It's really, really good. I know at least 4 or 5 people at my shop who've been picking it up based on my recommendation, and they're like we were just talking about it last Wednesday, like
Yeah.
because Bleeding Hearts came, the latest issue of Bleeding Hearts came out, and I'm like, oh, Bleeding Hearts today. They're like, oh, it's so good, it's so good. And then another one's like, yeah, End of Life too, so good, so good. Thanks for mentioning it. So yeah, this is definitely a word of mouth title, and it's fantastic. And what I really loved about this issue, particularly, was the end, with the scene between Eddie and his father, where his father kind of admits that kind of the bluster and the antagonism between them is a little bit of tough love, a little bit of bravado in a way. But all that being said, his father does want him to leave Pluto because he doesn't have a lot of time left. He's got that terminal cancer diagnosis. This is the place that makes him happy. And Eddie's just bringing all sorts of chaos and problems and BS to his late wife's town. And he just doesn't want that. And the scene at the end where Eddie's like, wait, you're kicking me out? And he's, holding a box of his childhood paraphernalia or what have you in his hands. He's been cardboard box. He's like, where the hell am I going to go now? And then Kyle Stark's in that great Kyle Stark's way with that dry wit. Like when we get to the page that says, what's coming up next, it's like, where the hell he goes. Next issue, where the hell he goes. This is just brilliant. Like, I know not everybody has the Kyle Stark sense of humor, but I definitely do. I'm definitely that kind of guy. I love a little bit more dry humor. And this is brilliant. There's tons of action too, and getting to see Eddie in his element and people being scared of him and him being formidable. It's a fun juxtaposition against how he kind of can't handle his life. He's just a big kid who can't make good decisions and be responsible, whatever. But when it comes to being a hitman and killing people, he's really good at it. And, it's great. It's fantastic. Yeah. You have the mind bullet scene that had me laughing out loud.
Yeah. That was awesome
as well.
That's my favorite page. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the art from Steve Pugh just gets better and better. Like, oh my God, it's just amazing. It's so good. There's nothing I don't like about this book. It is so, so good. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this issue, and I can't wait to see where the hell Eddie goes next. We'll find out next issue. So you're in your top 5 as well, Rocky. So take it away.
Yeah, it was my top 5. Not in my top 3, but it was in my top 5. And there's the funniest line is when the cartoonist, the jerk, the a-hole who's the cause of all this. Yeah. Eddie's making this face because he's so pissed off. And he says to him, oh, God, look at this idiot's face. What are you trying to do? Give yourself an aneurysm? Take the fun out of killing you away from us? I don't know. It only works because of the way it's drawn. His face does look ridiculous. Yeah. And also, he's kind of overreacting. He's like a child, and because you know how children wear every little expression on their face. Eddie is in. It's not possible for Eddie, this lead character, to hide how he feels. He feels contempt, he shows it. He gets upset, he shows it. He blurts things out. He's got no filter whatsoever. And that's what makes the character so funny, but also lovable. And his father's the same bloody way. And his father ends up saving his ass no less than like more than a few times this issue. And yet they're both jerks, both him and his father. They're both kind of equally a-holes. And it's kind of funny that even at the end, the father wants him to leave, and the father can blame Eddie all he wants but it's the father's just as much at fault for his past. I mean, his father was responsible for creating the Assassin's Guild that he's part of in the first place, and so it's a little bit hypocritical for his dad to point the finger at his son. But you can completely understand given the way the story plays out and the history as Kyle Starks has told us over these 5 issues, but very well done. It's the fact that we both enjoy this so much. We know, because as longtime comic book readers, just how difficult it is to pull off humor in a comic, and wow, I mean, Kyle Starks has managed to do it, and he did the same thing with the Peacemaker series for DC. Did a really good job with that, and that was pretty R-rated as well. But he managed to pull it off here too. and did a really good job. I'm not sure. Is this going to end next issue? Is this only 6 issues, or is this an ongoing? Do you know?
You know what? That's a good
But
question. I think it's continuing. Let me take a quick look. And while I do that, one other thing that I'll add is it's the contradictions of these characters that are so great. Like I was saying, Eddie being so formidable as a hitman, but being so such a mess and so inept at all the other parts of his life. But you even like take the bad guy Richard Smiley, the fact that he's this cartoon strip that he's known for, and it had a theme park, whatever. Then he gets canceled for doing despicable things, and he has to flee from California. He's living in this old decrepit theme park based on his stuff. But I mean, just the name, like Dick Smiley, like even his name is this contradiction. So yeah, it's just a heck of a lot of fun. No, it's the 6 is been solicited, 7 has been solicited.
oh, good.
It doesn't say on 7 that it's the last issue. Maybe it's continuing. I don't remember hearing that when this was announced that it was a limited series. So maybe it'll keep going longer. I don't know. Have to ask Kyle Starks how many stories he has. But I'm in for the ride.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I've talked about this before too. Like one of these days, I'm going to cosplay at a convention. I never have done it, and I could just kind of want the experience one time. It'd probably annoy me after a couple hours, people asking to take photos if I do good enough costume, and I'll be like, I'm going to my room and changing. But Eddie, I mean, I don't have the hair for it. I'd have to wear a wig, but like Eddie could be one I could do.
Get a nice red suit with some.
Red suit. Maybe I'll wear a fedora instead of having the hair. But anyway, this is great. I didn't think any of the covers really stood out to me. I'm pretty sure that I just got the main cover. But the one that you're showing there, I just want to give credit to the artist. It's Matt Taylor, and it's actually the only variant. So anyway, great issue. Love End of Life. It's been really, really enjoyable. And that does it for the single issues that we're going to review this time, everybody. Now, there are a ton of facsimiles and reprints this week. So Absolute Green Arrow is getting a second printing. So if you're there to pick up 2 and you missed 1, you can get a copy of 1. There's a couple of different, I think 3 different covers you can get for that reprint. There's also a facsimile of Detective Comics 359. And the usual thing that DC is doing when they're reprinting these, you can get one that's kind of the regular cover, you can get one that's a blank cover, or you can get the regular cover in foil. Now, 359, if you're not familiar with that, that is the first appearance of Batgirl, so very expensive on the secondary market. So if you're so inclined and want to pick that up, probably, I mean, for me, that's not a book I'll probably ever be able to afford to have the original, but I think I already have a facsimile of it, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, Lobo #1 is also getting a facsimile. Now, that one is a lot less expensive in back issue, so you possibly could afford that. But if you just want to read the story or have a cheap thing to fill your run, and again, you got the regular, you got the foil, you got the blank, and there's also a Superpowers variant cover of that. So those are the facsimiles and reprints for the week. And then as far as the collected editions, we've got Superman Action Comics Volume 1 Boy of Steel trade paperback. So this is reprinting the Mark Waid era, when Mark Waid gets back on Action Comics and starts telling the story of Clark Kent getting the powers for the first time. This covers issues 1087 through 1092. Then there's a Batman Under the Hood Compact Comics edition. So collecting that Under the Red Hood, very classic story. It's from Detective Comics, Batman 635 through 641, and then 645 through 650, and Batman Annual 25. Again, in that compact format, $10 for 384 pages. So it's a pretty good deal. And then Dark Crisis is getting an omnibus hardcover. If you want to know what happened in that series, from Joshua Williamson, Daniel Sampere handled the art. Art is gorgeous. Stories, a little up and down.
Yeah.
And then finally, DC's Finest Robin, The Origin of Robin, collecting 536 pages of really early Robin stories for $39.99. All right. Pretty sure I went first last time, Rocky. So fire away with your rankings.
Okay, coming in at number 13 was New Titans 36. Coming in at number 12, Batwoman issue 4. Number 11, Batman and Superman World's Finest 52. Coming in at number 10, Lobo issue 4. Number 9 was Justice League Dream Girls, a Pride event, number 3. Number 8, Nightwing 139. Number 7, Catwoman 88. And coming in at number 6, Absolute Flash 16. My top 5, coming in at number 5, Deathstroke the Terminator number 4. Coming in at number 4, End of Life number 5. Top 3, now coming in at number 3 was Superman Unlimited 14. Number 2 was Absolute Batman 21. And number 1, and it wasn't a contest, it was Absolute Green Arrow issue 2. It was just, it was awesome. It was just really good.
Wow. So as everybody knows, I like to predict what books Rocky's going to put in his top 5. And this time I was dead on. I had all 5 of them. And not only did I have all 5 of them, I had them in the right order until the last 2. I thought you were going to put Green Arrow at 2 and Batman at 1. I had those flips. But yeah, I had the rest dead on. So
right on.
Anyway, just a little game I like to play. For me, I've got New Titans 36 at 13. At 12, Justice League Dreamgirls number 3. Coming in at 11, Catwoman 88. Number 10, Batwoman 4. At number 9, I've got Nightwing 139. At number 8, Absolute Batman 21. At number 7, Absolute Flash 16. At 6, just missing the top 5 for me, Lobo number 4. Then my top 5, I've got Deathstroke the Terminator at number 5. I've got Batman, Superman, World's Finest, 52 at 4. 3, I've got Absolute Green Arrow number 2. At number 2, I've got End of Life number 1. And at number 1, I've got Superman Unlimited number 1. Not because I get to say I told you so, but I love that Lucas Meyer art, along with David Messina. And I love the potential, like you were talking about, of what can happen with an Ultra Boy, a Superboy from Earth 3. And mostly I love the fact that John and Lois and the supporting cast, they knew, just like a lot of us did, that it just wasn't the real Superboy. And Damian is going to take it personally. It looks like Damian's taking it personally that this guy's impersonating Superboy. So, yeah, the biggest question I have for me is even beyond the potential that this Superboy from Earth 3 might have, is what does he actually know? Like, again, has he been brainwashed to think he's the real John Kent? Like, it's so, because he knows the kryptonite doesn't hurt him. It's going to be really interesting what he knows and what he doesn't know. Was he in on it, basically, is what I'm saying. We'll have to wait and see. So anyway, that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening audio only, again, the podcast is available on all podcasting apps and platforms. Just do a search for the Comic Source and subscribe. I know I'm a little behind. I'm missing some episodes. Those will be coming out to the podcast feed as well. But if you are listening audio only, you can check out the artwork and see our smiling faces every week on Rocky's channel, Comic Space Boom, ! On YouTube. And then all the other Comic Source content comes out on the Comic Source channel, that new Comic Source weekly show, as I was saying. So while you're at the YouTube, just go ahead and head over, do some search for the Comic Source, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you know when new content comes out. So that's going to do it for this episode. Appreciate you joining as always, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.
Catch you later.